Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Fish Door County TV. Well, this week we're out targeting late summer, early fall pike in the Sturgeon Bay area. And some of the stuff that we're going to show you today will not only apply to the area that we're fishing in Sturgeon Bay today, but also to any of the areas in Door County, to the north or even to the south along some of those shorelines that are real popular for big pike as we get late into the season. So stay tuned. We got a great show coming with some nice fish, and we're going to show you everything you need to know to put some of these big pike in the boat this season. Guys, we've got a fish on here. Now this is a smaller pike, it looks like, and you know, this kind of illustrates something we wanted to talk about today. When you're fishing areas like this, downtown Sturgeon Bay, even out when you get out into the mouth of the bay a little bit around the Door County Peninsula here, a lot of times in this late summer period you're going to run into weeds, you're going to run into floating weeds that come in and out of the ship canal and blow out and blow back in. There's a couple ways to deal with that. One is to just keep flat lines like lead cores and snap weights right off the corners of the boat that you can correct, clean off quickly, and you can tell when the baits are running wrong. The other way is to just fight through the weeds, and we caught this fish on a deep husky jerk off a planer board. Planer board was full of weeds. I'm sure the bait had weeds on it. It doesn't always mean that the fish won't bite it, and sometimes you get to that situation where you're just better off having a bait in the water and cleaning it off once in a while. Not a bad pike. I mean, not a big one by any means, but a nice little fish. Fun to catch. But like I said, you're better off sometimes just having the baits in the water and dealing with the weeds. I mean, a lot of times we'll bring in baits, lots of times it'll have some weeds hanging on them, and the fish will occasionally hit them like that. And even if not, sometimes it's worth the effort just to pick them up every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, clean them off, and get them back in the water, because that'll help you put some more fish in the boat every time. There we go. Not a big pike, but nothing wrong with that one. Oh, we got a fish on here. Yuck, yuck. No, this is what I'm talking about, right? All right, folks, we got fish on the floor. We got fish on the floor. We got fish on the rods here. Nice little pike. So we got another one going right here. Let's get this guy back in the water. Fight this one here. There he goes. All right, well, we kind of got a little bit of a chaos situation here. We were getting that other pike out of the net. The rod laying over my arm there. Started going off. We have another, I'm assuming, pike on here. No, just a small little pike here, but fun. And it's situations like this that makes the fishing fun. I mean, oh, now he's gonna get through some weeds and make it even more interesting. Little guy. And this is a classic example of why we keep 2 nets in the boat at all times. because I'm gonna scoop this guy here. Now luckily he's not a big fish because our secondary net's not a real big one. But this is why we keep 2 nets in the boat, because we just got that other one in. There we go. Give him a chance to settle down. Not a bad little fish. I mean, a little pike. Nothing to write home about, but a pretty fish, healthy fish. When they're part of doubles like that, they really make it kind of fun. And that's an example, like we said, why we keep 2 nets. I mean, we put this net in the boat, that fish thrashed a little bit. That fish thrashed around and got boards mixed up in it, got a couple baits in it, and before we had a chance to even clear that off, we had to get to the secondary net. And sometimes you'll see guys with 2 nets and you'll think, oh boy, you know. But realistically, everybody should have a little backup net, whether you keep one of those foldaways in your box or whether you keep 2 up on the front deck like we do. Let's get this little guy back first. And that's why we keep 2 nets, like I said, because that second net sometimes is the saver. You never know. I mean, that big fish that you're waiting for all fall could come on that fish right after you hooked up another one. You don't want a tangled mess. That's when accidents happen too, when you're rushing around trying to get a net clear and people get hooks in them. Keep that second net on the boat. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't even have to be a big net. Just something that you can help control a fish at if you get 2 or 3 fish on at a time.
One of the things we're doing today is we're fishing lead core line, and this year we've been fishing lead core a little bit more than we have in years past, and there's a few reasons why we're doing that, but really today what we're fishing is we're fishing contours, and when you're fishing contours, lead core is the best to fish that. And you know, we put a full spool of lead core on a reel, so you combine that with a line counter reel, a decent action rod, a medium action 7.5 foot rod, and it allows you to let out the amount of line. You can correct it. You know, if you want 100 feet out, you look at your line counter, you let it out, and put that bait in that strike zone. And I tell you, you run more lead core, especially this time of the year when you're contour trolling shorelines or even these breaks that we're fishing. You're going to catch a lot more fish. Got our hands full because we're fishing in a narrow area. We just had a snag. As we're unloosening, we're getting the snag out. The lead core goes off, and now we're trying to fight this fish. Got boards out, and I think this is going to be a pretty nice pike. I'll tell you, not a bad pike, not a bad pike. Not a bad little guy, by no means. We're gonna throw this one back. We're gonna keep fishing. Like I said, the bite is picked up. We're gonna get these lines back out, see if we can hook a big one. We got this cloud cover, we got sun, it's kind of been intermittent today. And I haven't really found a pattern if you're biting better with the sun or without the sun, but we're going to keep fishing and see if we can catch a big one.
You know, this time of the year, guys, when you're targeting these big pike or walleyes or anything in these deeper areas, where you're trolling and where you're positioning your boat is one of the key aspects of catching fish successfully and consistently, especially. You know, today we're targeting fish that are in a trough or in this big trench here, and there's a couple different ways we try to approach these fish. And it'll apply to the area that we're fishing today in the Sturgeon Bay area, or whether you're fishing up in northern Door County along the edges of some of the shorelines up to the north or the reefs offshore ways. There's 2 ways we look at it. You want to target fish that are on the edges of that structure, or target fish that are on that deeper flat just off the edge. And when we're trolling these edges, as we've said before, we really like to use lead core lines so we know the baits are perfectly set near the bottom and we can control where they're at along the break line. Trolling along that edge, first or second main break in these deep trenches or those steep shorelines is usually the key to catching these big fish during this late summer into fall period. If you're not having success there, the second thing that we'll look at is moving off onto the deeper flat. And we usually move just a few hundred yards maybe away from that main edge, troll the deeper water, and we'll focus in on fish that are suspended into that deep flat. And when you're targeting those fish that are out on those deeper flats off the edges, that's when we really like to utilize our offshore planer boards. we'll set 2 or 3 boards on the side, so suspended baits off on the outside boards, and then gradually deeper as we get closer to the boat. And then of course we'll still keep our lead core lines to target those fish that are relating directly to the bottom. If you concentrate this time of the year in the fall, late summer period, if you concentrate on those edges, and if you don't find them there, move off to the deeper flats, utilize your lead core lines, utilize your offshore planer boards, you're gonna put a lot of big fish in the boat this late season fishing. Well, we got another one on here, guys, and this one came off the lead core. And we've talked about lead core lots, and we're probably talking about a lot more this fall. Because we really like trolling lead core, and this is an example of why. We've talked on other segments and shows we've done about lead core and the effectiveness of it. And situations like we're trolling today for these pike, where we're trolling break lines, edges of either the chip canal areas here or break lines along steep shorelines in the Sturgeon Bay and Door County areas, lead core is perfect for keeping bait in that strike zone. And this is, we don't know what we got here yet, but this fish came, kind of had a little bit of mess. We're dealing with some floating weeds today, which is typical for this late summer period. Clearing some lines up. Oh, it's just surfaced back there. Not a big fish, but fun. We got him coming in closer to the boat. And like we said, lead core is kind of one of those setups that catches everything. Anything that's going to patrol or roam along break lines here, which is basically every predatory fish up here in the Door County area this time of the year, is going to hit these big crankbaits trolled on lead core. He's coming up now. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Oh, it's a nice big smallie. Yeah. And that's kind of a bonus fish. We're actually after pike today, and I'm going to actually put a net on this fish. Even with smallmouth, sometimes it's a little bit safer to put a net on them when they got these big baits in their mouth. There we go. Getting to be that time of the year where these smallies will hit big presentations. And that's a nice big smallmouth. Nothing wrong with that. You come out here looking for pike, walleyes, whatever else you're out here, but these smallmouths can definitely add a little fun and excitement to any day of fishing. And basically this flat wrap, this is a big bait for a smallmouth, but it shows you that a lot of times we underestimate what some of these big fish will hit. Bait like that, never too big for big smallmouths like this. And of course pike, walleyes, muskies, they all lead it up too. So let's get this guy back in the water. Pretty cool deal. Guys, a lot of times one of the things we get asked about pike fishing this time of the year, whether it's late summer or through the fall season, is what baits do we like? And to be honest with you, bait choice is really kind of low on the list of important things when it comes to targeting these big pike. Pike will hit just about any type of deep diving crankbait that you want to run, as long as it's presented at the right depths and at the right speed. Some examples of some of the stuff that we like: deep diving husky jerks, the big deep reef runners, some of the flat wraps or the F18 Rapala, the bigger Rapala sized baits like that, even the big HJ12 husky jerks and HJ14s. Those are all great choices when targeting these big pike. But like I said, more importantly, your speed and your depth is the keys to catching these big fish. We like to troll a little bit faster than most people. And in my opinion, that's far more important than the actual bait choice or color selection that you're using. So target those fish that are in the deeper water with those deeper running crankbaits, and no matter what type you like, they're gonna catch pike for you this season.
Well, this thing is really pounding pretty hard. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get on, late summer, you start getting some periods of time when you can catch some really nice pike. But it's dependent on what the water temp does. When you start getting into these early fall time frames, water temp's starting to drop a little bit already, and the fish get a lot more consistent. And that's what we're fishing today. Well, we got that board off, it's staying down. Oh boy, and this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these bigger fish. And you wouldn't think that the areas that we're fishing, you can catch big pike like this, but I'll tell you, this is a great place, a great time of the year to get out. And you can do it right now. Right now you can get out there and have some fun catching these big pike. Wow, that's a nice fish. I'll tell you what, this is what we come out here early season pike fishing. This is a big, big fish. I mean, this thing is probably pushing close to 40 inches. I'll bet you this thing's 15, 18 pounds for sure. Get this bait out of here because I definitely don't want to wear it. Barely was hooked. Get some pliers. Barely was hooked. What a nice fish. Beautiful fish. Big fish. And you know, we're gonna let this baby go. We're gonna get fishing here because, you know, you start catching fish like this, there could be more and more bigger ones here. So we're gonna let this baby go and we're gonna see if we can catch some more.